Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to go ahead and create this eye profile. We're going to do this in our warm-up document on our coordinate practice tab. Do so by creating a new sketch on the front work plane. If you have any previous sketches open, go ahead and hide those so they're not in the way. This new sketch, I'm going to call, give today's date, or give it another name, but I'm going to go with today's date. And then we're going to continue sketching. I'll pull that out of the way so I don't have to stare at it. You'll notice in this instruction it says set your workspace units to millimeters for this sketch. So up next to the OnShape button, you'll see 3 bars between the OnShape button and the warm-ups button, the document name, and you'll see workspace units. You want to set workspace units for this exercise to millimeter. It's just to click the drop-down menu. You're currently probably on inches. That's the default unit. We're going to drop that down and choose millimeters. And then we're going to choose our display decimals at 0 decimals. That green check. And let's get started. So looking at our model here, looking at our sketch here, we're going to go ahead and see that we have our points laid out, A through L. Each point has a coordinate axis location, with the first being the X dimension, and then the second being the Y dimension. So these are all formatted X, Y, or width, height. So A is at 0, 0, right there. It's going to be our origin. And then B is over 90 and up 0. So it goes over 90, up 0. Let's go ahead and create that. Get our line tool, click on our origin, over to the right, keep a horizontal line. Now, if you pay close attention, you'll notice that whenever your line is near horizontal, the symbol appears to tell you that you have horizontal. I click and release, and then we're going to type in 90, enter, which in the case here is pretty darn big. Close. Tap escape out of there. The escape key to get out of my tool, and I'll pull the dimension down. So that's going to be 90 is the dimension that we wind up creating across the bottom. So that winds up creating a 90 millimeter line across here. So that's point B. Point C is over 90, up 30. So that's going to be over 90, up 30. We can do this. We can do this pretty easily. Let's go ahead and show you. So take our line tool, click on the end at point B, and go up around 30. Click and release, type in 30, enter, and escape. You can see there it is. So that, go ahead and shade in on my paper. That one's done. That one's done. Point D, so point C, 90, 30, so we're done, check done, check done, check done. Point D is over 60, up 30. Over 60, up 30. Okay, so we're going to have a dimension 60 over and 30 up. A line tool. Let's use a point for that. I'm just going to put a point, hover, click and release. And the reason I use the point tool is because my measurement's going to come back from here. I guess I could have used the line tool, but let's get our dimension tool. Tap the D on the keyboard. Click and release. And 60. Enter. I'll drag this outside. There we go. And and you'll see that that isn't moving because whenever I hovered over the existing point, went to the right, you'll see that the yellow dashed line showed up to tell me that I was going to create it horizontally constrained. I'll go ahead and create that line now, joining those points together. Okay. So take a look. Check this off. So D is done. Point E. D is done. Point E is up at 60, 90. So let's do point E at 60, 90. Over 60, up 90. See what we're getting there. Point, there's 60, hover up, click and release. Now we just need the height measurement from the origin to the point, and that's 90. Okay. And again, you see we have that vertical constraint between the upper point and the lower point, which is points E and D. So that is fully constrained. Now construct the line. And there you have it. So we have constructed point ED, or line ED. Now we're going to go ahead and construct line EF. So we've got line E done, or point E done. Let's go ahead and put in point F. Point F is 90, 90. So over to 90, hover, moving up. $90.90. Oh, yeah, $90.90. So point E is $90.90. So over to left 90, and then it turns out we can just bring this down so that it lines up with that one. And when we let go, it'll lock in position and be done. So that's over 90, up 90, and connect the dots. And that is done. You can see that point F is done. That means line EF is done. Now we're going to do line FG. Point G is at 90, 120, 120 up to point G. So there's a point. I'm going to go over the 90 up some distance and just dimension it from the bottom to the top at 120. And connect it with a line. It should turn black, and it does. So line FG is done. Now we're going to do line HG. That means we need point H to be defined. So it's at 0x, 120y. So we got our point. So 0x straight up to 120y. But that's 120, so we can just connect those using our construction. There you go. Project. And done. That's it. That one's already defined. Perfect. So now we just connect the line. And fully defined. Take a moment, darken that on my sketch. I'm going to do point HI. Line H is done, or point H is done. Point I is 0, 90. So we're just going to go down some distance. So it's going to be 90 up from here. So origin, slide on down. Turns out I already have a 90 over here, so I can do this. This is easy. There it is. Awesome. Okay, let's scratch that off as done. So now we're going to go on to IJ. So point I is done. Now we need point J. Point J is at, oh, there's an error. That can't be at 0, 90, because it's up 90, but that's not 0. I'm going to set that to 30. Set that to 30. So at 90, over, click and release. Now we're going to use the dimension tool to measure over 30, which will allow us to put done. Scratch that off. Now we're going to do point K, which is at 30, 30. Which will connect point line JK for us. So there's our point. This is conveniently also between two, aligned with two other points. I don't need to define that with dimensions. That makes it easy. Click and release. Click and release. Fully defined. Now the last thing we need to do is one last point. Since K is done, line JK is done, point L will define our last two lines for us. So it's over 0, up 30. Put L, over 0, up 30, which is also conveniently already defined for us. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all we need. Done. Done. Awesome.